concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. I'm so glad to have you with me here on a Sunday afternoon, or if whatever time it is where you are. It's a beautiful day here, man. It is a beautiful day here. One of those days where you're tempted to blow off work and go fly, or just go lay outside in the yard and let ticks crawl all over you. But no, I'm here. I'm here with you to answer your questions. Answer your questions about FPV, and that's what we're going to do. That is what we're going to do. We are going to answer. You're going to ask questions. I'm going to answer the questions. We're going to do that for like a couple hours. Yeah. You excited? Are you excited? Gabriel Avocado. I'm going to nationals for SUAS commercial demonstration because of your videos. That is that's such an honor. The thing I'm most proud of in the world. It's my children. All right, you got to say that, right? The thing professionally, the thing I'm most proud of in the world is the number of people who have found enjoyment, health, wellness, and sometimes even professional success thanks to my videos. It's such an honor. I get a little choked up there. It's such an honor, and it feels so weird because ultimately, like, I just like what I'm doing. It makes me feel good to do what I do. So on some level, you could argue that I'm just doing it for selfish reasons. But then to find out that other people benefit from it is such a bonus. And of course, that's the way things should be, right? You should, ideally, I know it's not often that way in the world that we live in. ideally, you should do the things that you like to do, and hopefully those things will help other people, and then you can mutually benefit, and that means a lot. So thank you for that. Oh man, we gotta hold on. Here's what's going on here. Check this out. Oh, there we go. Hey, what's up? What's up, guys? I wonder. I have to check something. Filters, no. Head cam, green screen, source, NVIDIA cam, filters. Head cam, LUT. Yes. Hold on one second. Hold on. I got to fix this. I switched from OneDrive to Dropbox recently. And flip. Where was it? OBS settings. Some of my, hang on. You'll see what I mean. One second. There it is. Okay, there we go. Yeah, no. We definitely need that. Look at the difference. Look at the difference. Oh God, I want to throw up. Oh, look at that handsome devil. Okay, anyway. There we go. Something didn't look right for a minute. Here we go. Here is what's going on. You and me, we're going to be, I'm going to be answering your questions. I'm going to be taking your questions here in the chat. Tweet FPV. How about them new HD0 goggles? Not Tweet FPV. That was Tweet FPV trying to make it. Was it you, Tweet, who did that? I think it was. I don't want to accuse the wrong guy. Tweet? Yeah, Tweet FPV. I'm not sure how I feel. Oh, what the fuck? How'd that happen? When did that start happening? That's weird. Sorry about that, guys. Let's catch up. I'm not sure what just happened there. Catch up. Yeah, Tweet FPV, I don't know what was going on there, man. Like, it's tough because, like, the whole nature of an April Fool's joke, in my opinion, has to be that you are a little bit dumb if you fall for it. It has to have enough of a wink that when people fall for it, they go, "Oh, you got me." And so if you just release a video, HD0 FPV goggle early look, some people are going to feel like that's not an April Fool's joke, that's just clickbait. But then I watched your video. And it's a 10-minute video, and I feel like you don't give away the joke early enough. By the time people have figured out that, like, some people didn't figure out that it's a joke. By the time people figure out it's a joke, they're pretty far into it. I guessed it was a joke just based on the fact that it was April 1st. But I know there were people who are annoyed. There were people who are annoyed. I don't know. I guess there always will be. It's a bold move. Let me just say that. It's a bold move to do that as a joke. It's nice. Good job, though. It's in the description. Yeah, happy April Fool's Day. I hope you enjoyed having a laugh with me. That's true. It's true. So we're going to be taking questions from the chat, and we're going to also be taking questions from the Discord here on the right. This is my Discord server with these beautiful, beautiful people. These are my patrons. They have signed up, joined my Patreon. It costs $2 a month or more. It's up to you. You decide the amount, and you can join these people, and I will pay a special attention to you during live streams. Yeah, but more importantly, you just, get to hang out with these beautiful people. If you want to make sure I get your message, like Mike Speedy FPV here on the left, hit the $, leave a super chat, and I will read those a little later in the stream. But let's go back. I mean, I take any video released on April 1st with a grain of salt. So let's go back and there was a question about Crossfire. JCFPV says, very tempted to trash my Crossfire and go with Express LRS. I was totally against it till after another weekend with no flying because of stupid receiver that was working fine. Yikes. What the heck is going on with Crossfire? My whole fleet is down due to this stupid update. JCFPV, I recently released a video discussing how to fix that. Hopefully, how to fix that. And I want to refer you to it. This one. So you bricked your Crossfire tracer, Mambo tracer. Now what? JC. That should get you back in the air. It's super annoying that you have to go through this nonsense, but that should get you back in the air, I hope. Oh, Cool Cat. The Discord gets special attention. You get a whole half of my screen, man. Audio Geek FPV says, don't update if it ain't broke, dude. The problem is that the new receivers, I don't know if it's just the Nano Pro or if it's new, it's all new receivers, but some new receivers require the updated firmware. TBS 69 required you to update firmware on your module, and then I think the Nano Pro requires an update. And so the point is that for some people, they have to update their module in order to use the latest hardware. At which point, then you have to update all of their receivers. So, doesn't updating using Agent M solve the issue? Asks TS13FPV. Yes, that's the gist of it, is update using Agent M. Mostly. All right. Let's see here. I still think the Rotor Riot, I think the Rotor Riot one is the best. One of the best I've ever seen. Did you guys see this? This was last year's. They didn't, but it was so good that I think they sent it out to their, I think they sent it to their, yeah, April Fool's 2021. This was so good.
This is the tool that every FPV pilot needs if they want to be on another level.
It is absolutely one-to-one with real-life drones. If you're out there and you're wanting to improve your freestyle, if you're out there and you're wanting to improve your racing, if you are someone who is struggling with FPV and you just can't figure out what to do, you have the ability to get better in your pocket.
For this to be a truly useful tool, we had to ensure that the experience
seen a Rodio on Rotor Riot lately. Where's the Rodio been?
Flying. So we were meticulous about developing the physics to ensure that the drone behaved as a drone would in the real world.
When my fingers touched the glass and I got my hands on the controls in the Rotor Riot simulator, it was like putting the goggles on for the first time. The experience, the rush of adrenaline and emotions that you get when you fly the Rotor Riot drone simulator is just unparalleled to anything else.
So cinematic.
You get to explore all these crazy different terrains. You get to learn about PID tuning. You get to do all of the things that an FPV pilot would want to do.
From the time that we decided to begin this project until its release, we had to keep a lot of this in the shadows for days. We didn't want people to know what we were working on until we believed that we had created something that wasn't just perfect, that it was human.
When Drew approached me and asked me to make a simulator for the Rotor Riot community, I was troubled, to say the least. It's not an easy undertaking, not at all. In order to make the most realistic drone simulator there is, there's a ton of factors you need to consider. Wind resistance, gravity, inertia, but all of that was too hard. So I just made Flappy Drone.
I think it's not actually in the App Store. I think they were trying to get it in the iOS App Store, but there was a reason they couldn't do it. So good. I think it. Oh, right. It got rejected because it's just a Flappy Bird clone. And the App Store won't let you do that. They'll be like, no, we don't take clone apps. So good. So good. I hope that some of you guys didn't see that last year, and it was worth 3 minutes of your time to watch it again. Let's take a question here from Safiros in the Discord, who asks, can you describe what you do in order to edit GoPro's H.264 videos in DaVinci Resolve? It gives me the media offline error. Do I need to convert these? I'm worried I'm going to end up losing quality if I do so. So Safiros, you are correct that if you transcode those videos, you will change the quality. You can transcode them at such a high bit rate that hopefully you don't lose meaningful quality, but the problem is then the files get larger, right? So if you were to take a 25 megabit per second 1080p file, for example, and you were to transcode it at 60 megabits per second, you probably wouldn't get any detectable loss of quality, but you've made the files much bigger. You don't want that. I don't use DaVinci Resolve, so I use Premiere, so I can't tell you why Resolve is doing this, but I can tell you there's nothing special about H.264 videos out of a GoPro that I'm aware of. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able, like the DVR files out of SharkBite, the .ts files, those are kind of weird. The DVR files out of a Fat Shark DVR, they're motion JPEG encoding, and some programs are like, what is this? I don't recognize this, right? So like I always used to have to transcode the DVR files from my Fat Shark goggles. But a GoPro's H.264 files are nothing weird. Are you sure you don't mean H.265? Are you exporting in HVC? And that's something that some editors will struggle with. Safiros. I don't know the answer because I don't use Resolve, but I can tell you any editor, any video editing program should be able to easily edit those files. There's nothing special or unique about them in any way. But do make sure you're using H.264, not H.265, because like, for example, maybe Resolve doesn't support H.265 unless you have the paid version or something. I don't know. Right. That's right, 507RC. Yeah, Synthetic has a good point. Why are you getting media offline? Media offline usually means that the file is missing. Synthetic asks, is it possible you're dropping the files in from your SD card, and then when you remove the SD card, Resolve can't find the media? That's a very good point. It'll still remember that the file should be there, but it can't find the file, and it'll say media offline. Media offline means the file has disappeared, not the file could not be imported. Andre Luis tells us that the free version of Resolve can handle H.265 on Mac, but on Windows, Resolve doesn't handle H.265 unless you have the paid version. Okay, so we got a couple theories here. Sephiros seems not to be answering in the Discord. He may have stepped out, but those are some suggestions. Say Yay says, I've had that problem on Resolve when trying to use slow motion clips. Adivert, very interesting question from Adivert from Romania. Is it possible to put the flight controller in a vertical position? Yes. The flight controller can be in any position as long as you set the alignment correctly in Betaflight. The question is, why do you want to put it in the vertical position? Well, you can if you want to build a frame to do that, but I don't know why. Yeah, Sapphiros, oh, he's typing now. He's typing now. Our leading theory is that you're moving the files somehow and don't realize it. Because I would think that it wouldn't even import H.265 if it didn't support them. What is Radiomaster coming out with on Wednesday? Asks David M. I know, but I can't tell you. I don't want to spoil it, but I know, and I'm going to be doing a video about it. Should I tell you? No, I can't do that. I can't do that. I don't want to piss them off. I don't want to piss them off. It's just a few days. I'll tell you this. I have speculated about what they're doing in the past before it was confirmed that they were doing it. I have speculated that they would do it. And you could try to figure it out from there. Pavel Szpakowski thinks everybody knows. Maybe everybody knows, but I'm not gonna. I have a good relationship with Radiomaster. We're friends. We're on good terms. I'm not gonna piss them off by leaking it. So, let's get some of these super chats out of the way. We've got a ton of super chats coming in. Saphiros. There we go. Let's get some of these super chats. Mike Speedy FPV, thanks for a 20-pound super chat. Hope you're well. I can't get OSD in my V2 goggles. So, Mike, there are a couple things you need to do to get OSD in your DJI goggles, okay? Let's run through the list of things to check. And in fact, let's do it like this. Okay. Good, perfect. We'll zoom in here a little bit. One, TX and RX wires from VTX to flight controller UART. TX to RX and RX to TX. Okay, that's number one. Two, in ports tab, MSP enabled for that UART. Okay. Three, next, check in goggles to see if you have VBAT in the lower right and if you see unlocked when arming. This confirms that the VTX is talking to the flight controller. Okay, so now you know that the VTX is talking to the flight controller. If you don't have that, stop, go back, make that work. Like, did you mess up your TX and RX wires or whatever? If not, stop, do not proceed, go back and figure out what's wrong. 4. Okay, now you know for a fact that you have the flight controller and the VTX talking to each other. Number 4, in Betaflight, enable OSD feature in configuration tab. It usually will be enabled, but it needs to be enabled. 5, in goggles. Where is it in the goggles? Where in the menu is it? Hold on. Here. All right, so first one is the show the customer let us have an OSD. Settings, display, custom OSD. Okay. In goggles, go to settings, display, custom OSD, and turn on. At that point, you should have OSD in the goggles, period. 6, if you have been screwing around with HD0 related CLI options like MSP, display port, device, or there's another one, then return those to default. Oh, get out of the way there, Bardwell. Okay, that's what it should take, Mike. Now, Mike, I'm not going to go through on a live stream each of these things with you one by one and troubleshoot it, but that's the basic troubleshooting steps that you need to do to get your OSD working. Thank you for your super chat. 661 FPV, yeah, I watched my own video for help. I actually, that's a piece of clip art that I use in videos. So like here in my assets stock footage, you can see I've got these things that my editor can use when I mention something. I can show it, so I don't have to shoot it every time, like this one. Next, we're gonna go settings. We're gonna go down to transmission. We're going to go preferences, low latency, focus mode. Anyway, yeah, I have this clip art. So, Eric Miner, what does voltage sag look like on a 2S beta 85mm frame with 1103, 11,000 kV motors? Well, voltage sag looks the same as anything. The voltage drops. The voltage drops when you hit the throttle. That's it. Let's get a question here from Johnny Rogers. Thank you for a $10 super chat, Johnny Rogers. Could you please try and help diagnose why my build won't recognize my controller inputs? It's a Mamba stack mini cadex in my first build, so maybe it's wired wrong. So, Johnny Rogers, if you have a flight controller and a cadex or DJI Air unit, chances are good that your wiring is correct. Now, with the cadex Vista, you could have soldered it up wrong to the Vista. It's possible. But there's a plug on the flight controller, most likely, and that plug is set up, so your chances of getting it right is more likely. The number one reason with a DJI build, Johnny Rogers, why it wouldn't work is that you have the fast S-Bus option set wrong. And once again, I can refer to my own video. I have a clip about this. Here we go. What you need to do. Settings. Go settings. Device. Protocol. S-Bus baud fast. Yeah. And you want that set to S-Bus baud fast. And then in the flight controller, in the let me see here. I got to plug in a flight controller. In the flight controller, yada, yada, yada. You're going to go in and you're going to type set S-Bus baud fast equals on. And those settings being mismatched, it's on in the flight controller but off in the goggles or vice versa. That's the number one reason why with DJI people can't get controller inputs. So that's what I would have you check. Whoop, wrong. There we go. Yeah. All right, Johnny. I hope that helped you. Thank you for the super chat. Hot ham sandwich. I could go for a hot ham sandwich. That's a very distracting username. Hot hams. You know what? When I was in college, there was this little Cuban restaurant. Not even a restaurant, really. Just like, a house that you walk into, and there was this Cuban guy who made food and had a counter. I had these Cuban sandwiches we would get for lunch. Hot ham, pickle, mustard, cheese. Man, I could go for a Cuban ham sandwich right now. Anyway, a hot ham sandwich. Thank you for a $10 super chat. Thanks for all you do. My students took gold for their commercial drone competition. They were the only team to use FPV while everyone else used Mavics and Telos. Love you, Papa Bardwell. Fantastic. Hot ham sandwich. There is so much potential for FPV in the world today. And it's really fun to see that be realized as the number of capable FPV pilots goes up. I always like to find analogies to things people can really relate to, and so I often fall back on music and cars when it comes to making analogies about FPV, because most people can relate to music and a lot of people can relate to cars. And I think about how the potential, how the scope of what you can do with music, like in guitar right now, there's a style. It's like this tapping style, like Polyphia. Who's the guy from Polyphia? I can't play their music. What's the guy's name? What's his freaking name? Tim Henson. Tim Henson does it. There's a couple other players. You see a lot of these people doing this kind of tapping style of guitar playing. And I don't think it used to exist. Like, obviously you can find examples of tapping, but the specific style of playing that guys like Tim Henson do, it's new. And one of the reasons that happens is that the number of people in the world who play guitar is big enough that some random kid somewhere comes up with this new thing, and other people see it and they do it, and it's really cool. You see the same thing with countries where there is a lot of culture around autosport, right? You just get so many people coming up through the mill, and some of them are really good. But if you didn't have that many people, you wouldn't find those people who are really good and who are going to do something that really pushes the bounds of what's possible. And I think about that with regards to FPV. Right now, the number of FPV pilots in the world is very small. And you get somebody like Evan Turner, who starts flying at a very young age, and then, or somebody like a Min Chan Kim or an Alex Vanover, who, you know, all of these really good pilots who started really young and are pushing the bounds of what's possible, right? But there's a whole lot of missed opportunity. There are things that we could be doing with drones that we don't know that we could be doing because there are so many people who aren't doing FPV, and therefore they're doing other things. And the more people we have doing FPV, like a Hot Ham Sandwich, your students with it, right? The more that we're going to find things that it can do that we didn't even know existed. So, pretty cool. Dan636 is hurt because I'm not talking about Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen, pioneer of tapping. Eddie Van Halen's style of tapping is completely different from what Tim Henson does. Completely different. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you on an FPV stream about music, you know, and I'm also no disrespect to Eddie Van Halen, who's the king, right? But Tim Henson has taken, and guys who play like Tim. Tim was just the first one I saw doing it. Integrate tapping into their guitar playing. It's a combination of tapping, fingerstyle, and strumming. It's integrated in a way that I had never seen before. So, anyway. Very exciting. Thank you, Hot Ham Sandwich. Zaref, thanks for a €2 super chat. Can I use one motor and 2 servos on a flight controller or ESC? You want to have a single motor that tilts. You just no. So no, you can't do that, I don't think, because you need something to counteract the counter torque of the motor. You're trying to invent You're trying to invent a helicopter. I'm pretty sure that I saw a video. I forget who it was. A guy invented a single blade drone that twisted the props for yaw and somehow was able to counteract. But no, in general, you can't have. And 2 servos is not going to have the kind of control you need to do a true, like, collective. Right? Oh, and as Pavel Spikowski points out, you need at least 3 servos. Would you pitch and roll, right, Pavel? Tom Stanton. Thank you. Tom Stanton did it. Appreciate that, Pavel Spikowski. How is a yaw servo going to help you? How's a yaw servo going to help you if you're rotating a prop? The prop is the yaw axis. Excuse me. Zaref, if you're trying to build some kind of collective pitch tilt rotor, I think you're going to need a pretty impressive set of servos, because the gyroscopic force of the motor is pretty extreme. PSFPV, thanks for a €5 super chat. Diatone Mamba Easy F722 plus F55 128K ESC stack, or T-Motor F7 for a 5-inch build. PSFPV, price no object. I would take the T-Motor all day. The Diatone Mamba Easy and the F55, Diatone makes good stuff, But the Diatone Mamba Easy is more of a beginner-focused thing. It's a lower budget, I mean. And the T-Motor F7 and the F55A Pro ESC is one of the most bulletproof ESCs I've ever seen. It's not, nothing is perfect, but they're not going to come in at the same price, I don't think. But the T-Motor ESC is one of the best ESCs out there. I would take it over the Diatone, price no object. Oh man, spring is coming. Sorry guys, spring is coming apparently. Techno Babbler, thank you for $5 Canadian. Can you take a second to talk about prop size versus KV versus cell count on larger quads? For example, 7-inch with 1600 kV on 4S or 5S, motor volume being equal. Well, Techno Babbler, I'm going to try and talk about what I think you're getting at. If the motor volume... So let's think about what happens when you go to a larger prop, okay? When you go to a larger prop, you have more drag. The prop is interfacing with more air molecules as it spins, okay? So there is more drag on the prop. Now the prop is also making more thrust. Cool. But let's set that aside for a minute. Because there's more drag on a larger prop, the motor has to be able to make more torque in order to spin the prop. So I want you guys to start thinking about motors, if you're not already thinking about them this way. Think about motors as a machine that generates torque. Torque is rotational force, and a motor is a machine that generates torque. With me? And a motor has a certain amount of torque that it can make. Both instantaneous torque and a sort of you can think about it, how much torque can it make total, and then how quickly can it make torque. Okay? I'm going to say the word torque so many times it's going to lose all meaning. I feel it starting to happen. So think about a motor that's spinning, and you grab the motor with your hand. And you squeeze the motor tighter and tighter and tighter. And as you squeeze the motor, it slows down, and then eventually it stops. You have now used up all of that motor's torque capacity. You've used it up by converting that energy to friction and so forth, and then finally it can't overcome it. So when a prop is on a motor, the motor is going to be using its torque capacity to spin the prop, and the more torque capacity the motor has, the faster it can spin the prop, and the faster it can accelerate the prop, and therefore it'll be more responsive. So when we evaluate a motor's performance, that's how I think is a good way to start thinking about it. Now think about a motor that is spinning a prop at a constant RPM. Like an airplane or a helicopter, where you just throttle up and you leave it there and you cruise. At that point, that is a relatively static balance. The motor is using some percentage of its torque capacity to spin the prop, and that's it. Okay? At that point, what would the advantage be of going to a larger... Let's say that with a given prop and a given motor, the motor's using 60% of its torque capacity. I don't even know how you would measure that. Let's say you go to a bigger motor, and now that motor has a larger torque capacity, and so it can spin the prop while only using 40% of its torque capacity. Okay? Now, it may be the case that that larger motor is going to be wasting less energy as heat, and therefore be more efficient. And therefore you'll get like more efficiency, more thrust, you get longer flight times and so forth. It may be that the original motor had plenty of torque capacity, and going to the larger motor doesn't get you more efficiency. So if a motor is too small, that's the situation you'll be in. You'll be too high in that torque reserve, that torque capacity. You'll be wasting energy as heat, and you'll get a loss of efficiency. Okay, so prop size, motor size. As you go to a larger prop, you generally go to a larger motor in order to keep the motor and the prop balanced in that sweet spot where you have enough torque capacity to spin the prop without wasting too much energy as heat. Okay. Now what about kV? kV is how fast the motor is going to try to spin the prop. All right. There's a relationship between kV and the motor's torque capacity. If you try to spin a prop too fast, the motor will use up its torque capacity and not be able to get the prop up to speed. And anytime a motor is running at less than its desired kV or its desired RPM, you're wasting energy as heat. Okay? So a motor that is too small and too high of a kV will try to spin a big prop really fast, not be able to do it, get really bogged down, and in addition to like having bad flight characteristics because it can't accelerate the prop, it'll just be really inefficient and get super hot and waste energy. And then battery voltage times kV is RPM. So there are various ways you can approach this situation. If you go to a larger prop with the same size and kV motor, you could drop down to a lower cell count, thereby reducing the RPM of the motor and bringing that stuff all back in balance. Owen Peaker, higher kV does not equal lower torque. That is a common misconception that is incorrect. Higher kV does not equal lower torque. Higher kV changes the relationship between amps and torque. A higher kV motor will draw more amps to generate the same amount of torque. So if you had a power supply that could supply sufficient amps, a higher kV motor would generate the same amount of torque as a lower kV motor, but it would draw more amps to do it. The reason that people think that higher kV motors generate less torque is that our batteries don't provide infinite amps. So with a higher kV motor, the voltage, when we spin the prop, we draw more amps, and therefore the battery voltage sags, and we end up sometimes getting less torque because the voltage drops. But a higher kV motor does not inherently draw less torque, or make less torque. It just draws more amps to make the same torque. Did you guys hear that? Oh, sorry guys, that's my Discord. I apologize. I'll mute that. I apologize that I left that on. One peaker, I know. Same voltage. They're higher kV. 661 FPV says higher kV makes more power in the higher RPM range, less power at a lower RPM. Again, that's we really got to be careful about how we qualify that. There is no reason why a higher kV motor would make more torque in the higher RPM and less torque in the lower RPM. There absolutely isn't. And we can study the Saint Rosser to learn more about that stuff. All right. I will say, I got to say, my understanding of this stuff in the last year and a half since Chris Rosser started making content, I mean, I've talked about this stuff with guys like Ryan Harrell, like Kebab, like Chris and Chris Rosser, and I've been trying to understand and conceptualize this and then explain it, for years. And my understanding, I feel like, has taken big leaps forward since Chris Rosser started making content. And I have to give a lot of thanks and credit to Chris and Ryan Harrell before him, who have taken a lot of time to educate me and others. So credit where credit's due there. All right. Cycling Mikey, thanks for a 10-pound super chat. Thanks for what you do. I appreciate the struggle as a fellow YouTuber. RC Ritter FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Can you clarify altitude limits over structures, part 107 versus 44809 for Class G airspace? No. I apologize, RC Ritter. I don't want to disrespect your donation. I 44809 doesn't ring a bell. Like, I know part 107. What's 44809? I don't even know what that is. Exception for limited recreational operations. Oh, I see. You're looking for a clarification of 107 versus recreational. So I hesitate here because I studied real hard for my 107 test. I memorized all the facts. And then for the most part, I just fly around my house and I don't think too much about the specifics. So I don't want to get a fact wrong here and then look like a dummy and mislead you and then piss off the FAA because they're like, hey, Bardwell doesn't know his 107. Like, what you're getting at is that under 107, you're allowed to fly within so many feet. Is it 200 feet or 400 feet of a structure? And if you're under 107 rules, then I think you can even do it in controlled airspace, but I'm not. Again, I'd have to. If it was about to be relevant, I would go look it up. And since I don't, do this stuff on the daily. Thank you, 507RC, for jumping in there. Thank you. I knew if I just babbled long enough, someone would sort it out. 507RC says, Part 107 can fly 400 feet over structures. Recreational is limited to 400 feet no matter what. That's what I was getting at, is that 107 has more flexibility than recreational. It weighs 400 feet. Okay, great. So that I think is the distinction you're getting at under recreational operations. If you are flying a 107 flight, and is that even in controlled airspace, or is that only in Class G? 507, can you clarify that for me? And again, I just want to say, if I was going to do any of this stuff when it was actually relevant, I would look it up and I would research it. Please don't get mad at me, FAA. But I don't keep this stuff in my head on the daily because it's usually not really relevant to what I'm just flying in my yard, right? Yeah. So, recreational, 400-foot limit, period. 107, within 400 feet laterally or 400 feet above a structure. The only thing that's outstanding so far is whether that only applies in Class G or whether it also would apply in controlled airspace. 507RC says it's only in Class G, but doesn't seem 100% sure. In controlled airspace, the limits may be lower depending on how close to the airport you are. Okay, great. Thank you, 507RC. I owe you a $5 super chat. All right. Continuing on. Lewayne Slaybaugh, thank you for a $5 super chat. You've helped me so much getting into this hobby. Can anyone send a quad to you and have you work on it? Generally, no, Lewayne. Generally, I don't like to spend my time doing that. I think there's more enjoyable and I currently have like 4 quadcopters that are broken that I need to work on. So I don't want to take your money to work on your quad. I'd rather fix my own. If you want people to send a quad to work on, there are various people I know of who do good work, and I can refer you to them. But in general, I don't like to do that. Ziref, thank you for €2. 1 motor to power an ornithopter is the idea. An ornithopter, interesting. Danny Williams, thanks for a $5 super chat. I recently installed a TBS Unify Pro 32 on my 5-inch quad. With a Menace antenna kit, I can't fly behind my house. Danny Williams, if you have an analog VTX and you're getting unexpectedly short range, it may be that your VTX table in Betaflight is wrong. If your VTX table is wrong, and specifically the power values, here, let's take a look real quick. If your VTX table is wrong, oh my God, can we get rid of that warning? Calibrate, fine, I calibrate the accelerometer. That's probably upside down. Oh, I screwed it up. Calibrate, there we go. If your VTX table is wrong, sorry, hold on. Got to do this first. Okay. If your VTX table is wrong, and specifically your power levels, if that is incorrect, your VTX will lock itself at 25 milliwatts or maybe pit mode. So what we need to do is we need to look up the TBS Unified Pro 32 VTX table. And we'll find this page with these VTX tables. And you've got the Pro 32 HV. Which is it? What did he say? Pro 32. It just says Pro 32. So we don't know which one you've got, but like, let's guess that it's the Pro 32 HV. So we're just going to copy this and paste it in the CLI. Or under Betaflight 4.3, if you have configurator 10.8, if you have configurator 10.8, you can go to presets. And in the official presets, there is a VTX table section, and we can search for Pro 32, and we can pick whichever one of these is correct. But my guess is that you have the wrong VTX table loaded or the wrong power values. Here, let's load this up. I'll show you. And if you do that, it's going to lock itself at a low output power, and you'll get crap range. So like right here, for the Pro 32, the power levels, the power values need to be 14, 20, 26, 36. If you've put those as 0, 1, 2, 3, like the older Unifies used to use, that would cause what you're experiencing. Is there a solution? Redboy Vlogcast, thank you for a $5 super chat. Is there a solution for a flight controller the USB plug has come off of? You can cut a cable and solder it on if the pads are still there. In theory, you could solder a new one on. Many people would consider that to be the end of the flight controller because it's too much of a hassle to fix. Odis, thank you for a $5 super chat. Look up Scorpius 3-inch on Thingiverse. Just want the community to know and hopefully see more people creating their own kind. Well, okay. For a $5 super chat, I guess we can do that. First, I'm going to look it up myself. Scorpius. That's not a thing. Scorpius 3-inch. Oh, here we go. I found it. Oh, my goodness. It's a Y6. What? No. What is this? It's a 3D printed Y6 frame? I guess for a 3-inch, you theoretically could be... 3-inch and below is where I think you theoretically could 3D print frames out of plastic and have them not be completely shitty. So I guess it's theoretical. You got a picture of a finished one? No. Nope. Okay, well. Thank you so much for the donation, Otis. WTFPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. I'm seeing bobbles in my ski goggles. I flashed my ESC to the most recent version of Simon K. Could it be a problem with my Naze 32? I am going to assume this is a joke, because ski goggles, Naze 32, and Simon K. are all technology from 7 years ago. Thank you for the donation, WTFPV. Sensei Security School, thank you for a $5 super chat. We've been trying to reach you about your drone's extended warranty. Indeed. And Max Wild, thank you for €5. Just thank you for your great videos. And we are caught up. We are caught up with our super chats. And we can go back to the free ones. Otis points out that there are DXM files for cutting carbon. Oh, thank goodness. I sometimes forget that Thingiverse is not just for 3D printing, but you can cut this stuff out of carbon as well if you have a CNC machine. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's been a long time since I flew Simon K, I'll tell you what. Oh. There's a lot of questions in the chat about what does and doesn't count as a commercial work for the purpose of a 107. The key phrase to know, well, this is the European stream. My Sunday afternoon stream is technically the time frame is set so that Europeans can watch it in the evening. So technically, we probably shouldn't focus too much on the USA-based 107 rule, but since people are discussing it. The key phrase is in furtherance of a business interest. I don't know if that's actually in the rule or if it's just a summary of what the thought process, but it doesn't matter if any money changes hands. It doesn't matter if any product or other consideration changes hands. All that matters is that what you're doing is in furtherance of a business interest. So the example I like to use is if your brother is a real estate agent and your brother says, hey, you fly drones. You want to come take a picture, do a fly through of this house I'm trying to sell? And you're like, yeah, I got the afternoon free. Let's do it. Your brother didn't pay you any money. Son of a bitch. Your brother didn't even buy you a beer or a pizza. There was no compensation of any form. But your flight was in furtherance of his business interest. Therefore, the FAA would expect you to have a 107. Essentially, any reason for doing the flight other than pure recreation, the FAA expects you to have a 107. Period. 507RC, you are correct. Actually, very good point. 507RC points out that if the fly-through is only inside the house, then you don't need a 107. Because the FAA only controls the national airspace, which is outside. If you only fly your Cinewhoop inside the house, you don't need a 107. The FAA is not involved. That is a very good point. That's a very good point. Well done. Alrighty. Okay. BRSHCO asks, do you need a 107 if you're making YouTube videos that are monetized? BRSHCO, if your YouTube channel is monetized, I think yes, the FAA would want you to have so like, I gave the example of the brother with the real estate fly through because I want to demonstrate that whether or not you get paid or compensated doesn't matter. But if you got paid or compensated, then 100% you need a 107, right? So if you're posting videos to YouTube and they're monetized, you need a 107. Now that leads some people to ask, YouTube is a commercial enterprise. You upload a video to YouTube. You don't monetize the video, but YouTube is still on some abstract way using your video to make money. Because YouTube can actually show ads on your video even if you don't choose to monetize it. And the FAA has said that no, in that case, you're just using YouTube as a platform. You do not need a 107 simply because you uploaded to YouTube. But if you're monetizing, you do need a 107. So there you go. That's the answer. Okay. Good questions. GMI Visuals, thank you for £5. After around 2 years on digital, DJI and HD0, I've come to the conclusion that analog's still a very good system and excellent value for money. I mean, Jason, there's no question that analog is a very good value for money. In terms of budget, analog is clearly the way to go. Both HD0 and DJI are significantly more expensive than analog. I would say that budget analog, I mean, you could get a $25 camera and a $15 VTX and a $5 or $10 antenna and be into analog for, what does that add up to? 25, 35, 40, 50 bucks. Let's say you could be into analog for $50 a quad. okay? Whereas both HD0 and DJI are going to cost you $150 a quad, let's say, roughly. So DJI and HD0 are approximately 3 times more expensive than the cheapest analog you can get. If you were buying premium analog gear, it comes up to maybe $100 for analog, maybe $85. So it's still roughly twice as expensive to go digital. So yeah, analog's great value for money. I will say though, every time I go back from flying DJI and HD0 to analog, I am dismayed at how hard it is to see where I'm effing going. And it's not the end of the world. I flew analog only for years. I still fly analog. But I definitely have a moment where I'm like, where's all the branches? And so, yeah, analog is of good value, but there's no question that the digital systems are better. You can see more. Finton Creag. How do you say that word? I'm curious. How do you say? It is an Irish surname. Well, obviously it's Irish. Derived from Gaelic creavach, meaning branch. Crovach. Crovach? How do you pronounce it, though? It doesn't say how to pronounce it. Oh, here we go.
Krieg.
Krieg? No,
Krieg.
Shut up. Krieg? Is that right?
Krieg.
I don't think that's right. Krieg. Krieg? Could be Krieg. Oh, shut up and just give me the damn...
Cree.
Cree. Cree makes more sense than Krieg. Cree? Cree. That's adding up. That makes more sense.
Krieg.
No, I don't think you pronounce the G. Cree. Cree?
Cray.
Cray. I could believe
Cray.
that. Cray. This says Cray. Cray. Finton says it's Cray. All right, thank you. Cray. Finton Cray. I always like to figure out how to pronounce people's names. I'll forget later, but for now. Finton Cray. What was your question? It was about Crossfire, right? Cray. It was about Crossfire. If I'm putting Crossfire on an Evoke, should I still put a GPS unit on it if I'm only planning to go 1 to 3 kilometers? Finton, it's 2 separate issues. Betaflight GPS rescue is not completely unreliable, but if you're serious about long range, I would be running something like ArduPilot or iNav. If you're just screwing around at the 1 to 3 kilometer range, then GPS is nice to have, and GPS rescue might save you some time, but generally you're just going to fly it home, you know? The nice thing about GPS is, with Betaflight, is it gives you things like direction home and distance home to help you fly home, even if Betaflight GPS rescue is not as reliable as it should be for true long-range flying. It's still useful to have a GPS on there to help you get home. But I wouldn't think it was mandatory for distances of 1 to 3 kilometers. Yeah, okay. Safiros is back with a question. My 5-inch 6S Kiss build keeps making weird whirring sounds at higher throttle. I'm using a capacitor and a spike absorber. Last time I was doing this, the ESC blew up. So today I stopped flying. Anything specific you would look for when troubleshooting? Woo! FetTech 45. I've heard a lot of stories of the FetTech 45 amp ESCs blowing up. I hesitate to say stuff like that. Well, I just said it, so oops. Because I don't want to be accused of, like, Bardwell said those ESCs blow up. I mean, it's just, you hear things. And sometimes the things mean things, and sometimes it's just, like when I was hearing stories about the SpeedyBee ESCs blowing up, and then SpeedyBee acknowledged there was a problem with the SpeedyBee ESC. You know, I'll get emails about stuff, and sometimes it's just like one guy with a problem, and sometimes it's enough smoke that you think there might be fire. Those FetTech 45 amp ESCs, everything blows up eventually. So maybe people are just being picky about the FetTechs. Maybe I can't say whether the defect rate or the failure rate of the FetTech ESCs is higher than normal. I cannot say that. I don't have access to that data. However, you hear some stories about those ESCs blowing up. It could just be that FetTech users are whiny. Wait, let me rephrase that. Oops. I've done it now. What should you do, though? What should you do? I mean, the crunked tune is somewhat aggressive. Maybe the tune is too aggressive. I mean, you should be able to run the crunked tune, though. It shouldn't be an issue. Joseph Tahari, good point. The 46i WoW tune has lower D gains. High D gains, like, is the capacitor super hot after a flight? Are the motors hot? High D gains are going to be more likely to blow stuff up. Nothing was hot. Like, why was there... I think that the whining sound you're hearing, Sephiroth, might not be related to the fact that your ESC blew up. I think maybe it was a coincidence. I don't know whether your current ESC is about to blow up. Ghost Branch and Joseph Tafari in the Discord say, my 45 amp FetTech ESCs hold up just fine. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. Number one, like I said, I don't have the data. All I know is the numerator. I know how many emails and messages I get from people who say, I had this product and it blew up. I don't know the denominator, which is how many total were sold in the world. And I don't know a second factor, which is what percentage of situations that I'm actually hearing about versus ones that I don't hear about. So there's a whole lot of, yeah. But I absolutely believe you that you have however many of those ESCs and none of them have blown up. A lot of times, like I had a guy who emailed me and he was like, I've had 4 of the exact same flight controller and they've all blown up. And I'm like, I don't remember which flight controller it was, but it was a fine flight. There was nothing wrong with the flight controller. It's not like a flight controller that I was like, oh yeah, no, that thing's super sketchy. Don't buy that. And I was like, well, I hate to say this, dude, but it's you. You're doing something that's blowing them up. I don't know what it is, but it's you. If you bought 4 of the exact same flight controller and you literally just plugged in the battery and it smoked, you are blowing them up. My point is that, let's say Ghost Branch is an excellent builder. Probably he is. He seems like the kind of guy who'd be a really good builder. Let's say, all of his builds are super clean. His solder joints are great. His builds are tight. There's no loose screws. Nothing is touching it's a beautiful, perfect build. Capacitor, capacitor, spike absorber, and Ghost Branch. And let's say also that Ghost Branch knows that if you turtle mode the shit out of a motor while it's in a tree, you're going to risk blowing up the ESC. And so he never does that. He's always real gentle with his turtle moves. My point is that the pilot plays into it, right? You could have a 100% perfect track record with a given ESC, and yet it could still be a weaker ESC because the dumbasses out there, sorry dumbasses, I don't mean to offend you. You know who you are. The dumbasses out there who make a crappy build with bad solder joints and then bash the shit out of the props with turtle mode, and then the ESC blows up and they go, this ESC sucks. Well, like somewhere out there, there's another ESC that's tougher that maybe can take that abuse. So the fact that one person has a perfect track record doesn't necessarily, in the same way that the fact that like 5 people email me and complain about this ESC doesn't mean it's a bad ESC. The fact that you have a 100% track record with the ESC doesn't mean it's a good ESC. So we're just all wanking here on a live stream and it doesn't mean anything, I guess is the takeaway. Fair enough. We're just wanking. Sephiros wants to send me a DVR. Here's the thing, Sephiros. If there's no audio, there's not going to be anything really useful in looking at it, my opinion. If you have audio of the whining sound, I'll listen to it. Nothing means anything. I'm just becoming a nihilist. Right? We're just becoming a nihilist. There's audio. Okay, here we go. If it's a Rickroll, I'll never forgive you. Oh, that's bad. Oh, it's bad. That's bad. Wow, that's immediately bad. Let me listen again. What is this? What is this waviness? What is that? Are you on the ground? Are you on some kind of fabric? You're on fabric. Okay. I hear it. Boy, I hear it. That's interesting. I don't know if you guys are going to hear it. Oh, God. That's bad. Oh, Jesus. No. So if I hear where we're hovering, I hear a very high-pitched, almost electrical noise. It could just be an artifact of the recording. But as soon as he throttles up... Right here. Ready? So that is D-term oscillation. That's D-term oscillation, 100%. Chat, am I right? That's not P-term. That's D-term, right? I think it's D-term. It's so high frequency. It's almost on the edge. It doesn't have the trilling characteristic. The I can't fucking do it. I'm laughing now. I can't. But the frequency is almost low enough to be P-term. And the way it comes in when he raises the throttle feels like P-term. I don't think it's P, though. I think it's D. So here's what we need to do. So that absolutely can fry your ESC. And that's not a fault of the FETTech or anything. If your build is doing that, you're at risk of frying something. Oh, God, that's bad. The thing is, here's the thing, though. Patreon, Discord, rather. If it is overtuned D, why is the oscillation coming in the prop wash? Overtuned D, I would expect the prop wash oscillation to be, like, really smooth, but super hot motors. Yeah. It's overtuned, though. I would say maybe P and D need to come way down. It says you can hear it fry itself at the... Oh, there it went. Oh, God, it's done. Yeah, oh, that's bad. James says drop I and retune D. Here's the other question. The crunked golden tune should be good on most 5 inches. Like, why is the crunked golden tune so bad on this build? Yeah. That's a, like, I would really like to know the answer. Like, it's a little aggressive, but on a good build, there's no reason for it to fly this bad on the Crunked Golden preset. I think there's something mechanical about this build. Definitely. So listen. If your quad sounds like that, stop flying it. You're going to kill something. It's bad. Definitely don't do aggressive flips and rolls. Like, as soon as he took off and started raising throttle, it started making those sounds. Stop. You got to figure that out. Sapphiros says, this was Vic FPV's preset, which is even more aggressive than Crunk, but the sound is still there. Something is wrong. Like, go back to the KISS default PIDs and see if the sound is still there. And something mechanical is wrong with your build. You have a cracked frame plate, a loose screw, an off-balance motor. Something's messed up, Sephiros. Yeah. You are right to be concerned that you're going to blow another ESC. And, can I say, remember when Sephiros said I blew a FetTech ESC, and I was like, yeah, I've heard some stories about these blowing up. And then I was all like, yeah, but we can't read too much into that. Well, in this case, there's probably nothing wrong with the ESC. This is entirely something mechanical with his build and his PID tune. It's not the ESC's fault that it blew up. It was being abused. So, that's one data point of not enough. Just more wanking. Alrighty. Great. Sapphiros. Thank you for being a patron, Sapphiros. If you guys want to join Sapphiros and the other patrons over in the Discord server, there's a link in the video description to my Patreon, where you can join them and support me for as little as $2 a month. That's my commercial. I don't do ad breaks. You never see me do an ad break for ExpressVPN or any of that bullshit. I just do ad breaks for me. Okay. Continuing, we got some more super chats coming in. Let me take one more from the regular chat. I feel like I haven't taken as many questions from the regular chat yet. So let me take one more from the regular chat, and then we'll go get super chats. Shaco Gaming says, my DJI system keeps going out of FCC mode after replacing the battery or power cycling. Any ideas why? Shaco Gaming, no idea why. It shouldn't do that. I guess my question is, are you sure that it was actually in FCC mode to begin with? Like, if you see 8 channels and you can go above 25 milliwatts, then you're definitely not in FCC. Then you're definitely in FCC mode. So I can't think of any reason, though, Shaco Gaming, why it would, once you've done the FCC hack, simply power cycling it should not undo it. So I wonder what FCC hack you're doing. Wait, Shaco Gaming. Are you talking about the DJI FPV drone or the air unit in the Vista? The DJI FPV drone, I believe that the FCC hack for the FPV drone is only a one-time thing. The air unit in the Vista, it should be permanent. Pausin in the Discord wants to know, will you have a look at the beta FPV 1-watt Express LS module? Yeah, I did, Pausin. So I visited Stingy a little while back. We did some work together. And Stingy, at the time that I was there, he happened to have the beta FPV 1-watt Express LS module and was testing it out. And he was doing some range testing. Long story short, the module did not perform properly. He tested the Radiomaster Zorro at 250 milliwatts and the beta FPV module at 1 watt and didn't get better range. And long story short, the beta FPV 1 watt module that he had was overheating. And since it was overheating, it wasn't actually outputting 1 watt. We didn't put it on a power meter to verify that, but he went back and forth with beta FPV, and that was their conclusion. So, once again, and I feel bad for beating the, I feel bad. I feel like I'm picking on beta FPV, but I'm sorry. They have to make products that work. The thing is that they make so many products that could be good and then aren't because they are designed wrong or have a manufacturing flaw. Now, in this case, we don't know whether it was a design problem or a manufacturing flaw. Are all of the Beta FPV 1 watt modules affected like this, or only Stingies? I don't know. But what I do know is that the Happy Model Pro module does 1 watt all day long and has had no problems that we're aware of. And so I have to say, I just am like, okay, Beta FPV, good job. That's all I have to say about it. It's so hard to recommend Beta FPV. And I want to, because they make so many products that seem like they would be good. And then for some reason aren't. And it's tough to recommend them. Okay. So, Pausin, I won't be speaking more about it because it doesn't seem like it performs correctly. And I would rather spend my time, promoting. I don't want to just be like, look, a new Beta FPV project. Oh, it doesn't work. I'm just going to spend my time on something that is working correctly. Anyway, let's get the super chats. We got a bunch more super chats coming in. Thank you so much to everybody who let's see, where are we going to be? Little One-on-One, thank you for a $5 super chat. Keep up the good work. Okay. I will, hopefully. 10, thank you for $2. Would a CC2500 radio work with a FreeSky XM Plus? Yes. The CC2500 chip will work with FreeSky D8 and D16 protocol. You're good to go there. 10. Carbon Cage FPV, thanks for $7.99 Australian dollars. Completely off topic, but can you please tell me the story about your penguin tattoo on your ankle and what it means to you, why you got it, etc.? Well, I usually don't spend a lot of time talking about personal stuff, but for $8 Australian dollars, I guess I will tell you the story. I'm not sure how I could show you the tattoo. I have a penguin tattoo on my foot. On my ankle. It's really risky to show your feet on stream because people are weirdos. I could hold it up and I don't know. But the penguin tattoo is there is a book by a children's book by an author called, her name is Sandra Boynton. And it's called Your Personal Penguin. And we had that book when we had our first kid. And in the book, there's this hippo. And this penguin wants to be the hippo's friend. And the hippo, as you can see, is a little suspicious of the penguin. The penguin keeps, trying to be friends with the hippo. And eventually they become friends. And I joked with Issa that it's kind of like our relationship in a way. We had been talking about getting matching tattoos, getting a sort of a tattoo together. I don't think we had any tattoo that we had gone to get together. And I had been teasing her. There's an episode of Friends where Phoebe jokes that Ross and Rachel are lobsters. And like, what? Lobsters? And Phoebe says that lobsters mate for life. No one, I don't know if this is true. Phoebe's a kook, right? Lobsters mate for life, and you'll see lobsters holding claws. And she goes like that. And I had joked that we were lobsters. And I said we should get lobster tattoos. And she's like, I'm not getting a lobster tattoo with you. That's dumb. And I was like, okay, well, how about we get a tattoo from this book, Personal Penguin? And I was like, you could be the hippo, and I'll be the. She's like, I'm not getting a hippo. I'm like, all right, we'll both get the penguin. So she got, I got the penguin holding out its arms to give you a hug, because I'm always trying. I'm more interested in, like, she's not as interested in snuggles as I am. And she got the penguin dancing with music, and we both have a matching tattoo. But it was I had to work her back around to it. If I remember right, and I'm not sure that I do, she didn't want to get a couple tattoo because, like, I don't know if it was a superstition or something. She was like, I'm not getting another couple tattoo, you know. And I was like, come on, we don't have a couple tattoo. I was like, let's do lobsters. And she was like, no, not lobsters. I was like, okay, what about personal penguin? She was like, I'm not getting that. I was like, okay, you can get the penguin. Anyway, there you go. Anyway, that's it. Grimmy West, thanks for 0.79 pounds. Johnny Rogers, thanks for $10. $10. Quick update. Everything seems to be correct and working. The controller is connected and I can use the buttons except the sticks. I can't set an arm switch either. It goes back to NA. Johnny Rogers, this sounds like the kind of thing where we would need to one-on-one. And you should email me, joshuabardwell@gmail.com, to try to sort it out. Bags FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Cheers, thanks for your help over the past couple of years. Thank you, Bags FPV, for your participation, your support, and so on. North 49RC, if I need to explain to you why my wife didn't want the giant hippo tattooed on her to represent herself, I'm going to guess you're not married. No offense. Maybe you are. It's pretty obvious, right? Nothing against hippos. Hippos are awesome. She just wanted the penguin. John Arnie Birkland, thank you for a 100 Norwegian kroner. Bought a used DJI FPV V1 remote for cheap. Previous owner had changed it from mode 1 to mode 2 and was unable to calibrate the sticks afterwards. I don't see... you can't calibrate the sticks. Why can't you calibrate the sticks? I mean, do you want to change it back to mode 2? Yeah. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to calibrate the sticks, though. I mean, it just says center the sticks and then rotate the sticks. Peter, thank you for... I cannot pronounce your last name, Peter. Apologies for that. Thank you for 400 Hungarian florins. What's the difference between FreeSky S-Port and F-Port? Peter, S-Port is telemetry only and is intended to be used with S-Bus as the control protocol. F-Port is a combination of telemetry and control in a single protocol over a single wire. TomTom, thank you for €5. Any plans to help the community building a VTOL FPV plane drone? Nope. Nope, that's just not something I'm really interested in. Ghost Branch FPV, thanks for 10 euros. $10 for the $150 Penguin Reveal Fund. Yeah, you're gonna have to go over to my OnlyFans to actually see close-ups of the tattoo and my feet. Aerobrat. Nice. Now everybody's showing their tats. Aerobrat. Sandhill Cranes mate for life. Nice. Nice. Otis, thank you for a $5 super chat towards that big reveal. I don't have an OnlyFans, you guys. Give me a break. Not that I have anything against OnlyFans. I don't have an OnlyFans, though. That's a joke. It's a joke. Oh. That's one of two. I have 2 tattoos. Is that all of them? I only have... How do I only have 2 tattoos? There we go. How about that? Both of my tattoos are tied to girlfriends or people I was... Well, she's more than my girlfriend, but both of my tattoos were related to people I was dating or otherwise in a relationship with. Not sure what that says about me. Let's not think about it too much. The second one is on my shoulder. Oh, you can almost see it. You can almost see it. You can't see it. Nope. Well, there you go. I'm not taking my shirt off. You got to go to the OnlyFans for that. Alrighty. Ooh, FPV Gizmo has a UV tat on the back of his hand. That's pretty cool. Only comes out in the UV. That's slick. That's badass. That's badass. You're more into girls than tattoos, says Aerobrat. Maybe that's true. I'm not like super into tattoos. I'm not a tattoo person. I will say this though. I will say this, and I'm gonna say, if there is a piece of wisdom about tattoos that I have in my life, it's that if you have an idea for a tat that you want to get, you need to go get it ASAP, because the moment is gonna pass potentially. Now, there's people who are like, I've wanted this tattoo for years and I'm finally getting it. The moment may not pass. But if there's a tattoo that's tied to a particular moment in your life and then you miss it, you're never going to go back and get it. So that's my advice. If you're a person who gets tattoos and you think of a tattoo and you're like, oh, like I just graduated college and I want to get a tattoo to commemorate that or something, do it right now. Don't wait. Because like 6 months from now, the moment will have passed and you won't want it anymore, and then you'll never go back and get it. So that's my advice. Tattoo advice. There was a tattoo I wanted. The first time I went to Burning Man, it was a really profound experience in my life. And I thought of a tattoo I wanted to get to sort of commemorate that, and I didn't get it for whatever reason. And then like 3 years later, I didn't want it anymore. And I wish I'd gotten it. So. Grimmy West, thanks for £1.79. Will shrink wrap affect my expressive signal strength? Probably not in any meaningful way. Anytime you have anything that is touching the antenna, it's going to change the coverage a little bit, but probably not in any meaningful way. King Turkey, thanks for $2 super chat. Send me an email. Check after the stream. Appreciate that. Ghost Branch FPV, thanks for 10 more euros. Ghost Branch has subscribed to your OnlyFans. There's $25 in the Penguin Reveal Fund now. Nice. Nice. Like currently the tattoo that I'm not getting, and I don't like desperately want this one, so it's not quite the same, but I had the idea to tattoo an FPV channel chart of something like that. I hadn't fully fleshed the idea out. I had the idea that it would be cool to tattoo an FPV channel chart, or maybe just race band. I don't know. Something like that on your arm or on your body. So then, like, you know, you'd be like, hold on, let me check the channels. Oh no, I'm on 8. And it's the kind of thing that it's personal. It's related to something, to my job. And it's the kind of thing that would make a good tattoo. Not just because it's a clever joke, because it like relates to your life. And like analog is, you know, in 3 years, maybe analog won't even be a thing anymore. Who knows? And that moment will have passed. So I guess I should go get that tattoo. AK Drone Flyer says it's good to think about what the tattoo is going to look like when you're 90 years old. No, I disagree. I cannot disagree more strongly with that sentiment. And AK Drone Flyer, I don't know you personally, but most people who say that don't have tattoos. But maybe you do. I don't want to presume. It does not matter. When you're 90 years, God bless you if you live to 90 years old. You're just going to be an old, wrinkly, saggy. You're just going to look how you look, and your tats are going to look how they look. Who cares? That's not the point, in my humble opinion. You're going to look how you look. You're going to be old. You're going to be wrinkly and saggy and hairy, and you're not going to look, no one's going to look at you naked and go, damn, grandpa. And your tats are going to look like that too. And that's just who you are as a person, and it's awesome. That's my opinion. You can't make decisions today Yeah, no. Mm-mm. It's my opinion. Yeah. Even the tats you get that you regret. And again, I only have 2, and I'm certainly not like deep in tattoo culture to really talk about it. But like Issa has a really cheesy like tribal band. I think it's around her ankle. And it's like the kind of thing that just screams, I was 20 years old and I went into a tattoo shop in the 90s and I got the cheesiest piece of flash that they had. Oh, give me a tribal band. And now it's just this absolutely corny, completely played piece of art. And she's like, I don't, that's just, I don't like regret that. It's just who I was. I think that's a good attitude. If you really have one that you hate, obviously that's different. But yeah. Thank you, Yarbs FPV. 5 in the chart. 5 for the Ink Fund. I have Final Fantasy 1 Black Mage tattoo, and the other's just a tribute to a late friend. Like, if you got your girlfriend's name tattooed on your body, and then you broke up with her, and now you hate her, and you never want to think of her again, and you're like, that tat, I'm getting it removed. That makes sense to me. If you just have a tat that you don't like, you're like, I just don't like looking at it anymore, I'm going to just cover it up or get it removed. That makes sense to me. But, like, this idea that you're going to have this regret that you've made some huge mistake with this permanent thing on your body. It's not. Your body isn't permanent. You have scars. You have things change. It's not like that. It's my opinion. Rocket wants to know any rough timeline on a new flight controller release. We have pulled the trigger on the first batch of 100 for my new V2 JB flight controller. That first batch of 100 is going to be sold at a discount as a beta test. And when the results from that come back, then we'll do a big run, like, 500, 1,000, or 2,000, whatever they decide to pay for. But that trigger has been pulled. The manufacturing and shipping will probably take a month. That means that in about a month, you might see JB F7 Pro new flight controller available for the first beta run. It all depends, though, because, of course, with China going on lockdown and all this bullshit, who knows? That's where we're at on that timeline, though. Thank you, Kyrie XXL, for 69 Norwegian kroner. 69, what a strange number. I wonder why you would do that. Mike Speedy FPV, thanks for £5. Mookie wants to know if I'm practicing for the racing season. Oh, I don't know about that, Mookie. I do like racing. I like Mookie's getting fast, too. Mookie, I'm going to make you a moderator so I see you in blue. Mookie is, he's a local guy. And a pretty fast pilot, too. I got to go hang out over at Doc's house. Kevin Turner, Evan's dad. He's got a great track set up at his house. I should just go down there and fly with him. I bet he'd let me. Fenton Cray wants to know if I want to charge 6S at 1C, should I buy the normal Hoda D6 and a cheap 12-volt 3-amp power supply? Thanks for getting my name right. Oh, no problem, man. Absolutely. 6S at 1C. Well, we got to do the math, okay? We got to do the math. Whenever you're asking yourself if a charger is big enough, do the math. 6S. That's, well, now you might think we'd pick 3.7 volts, which is the nominal voltage, but I like to use the max voltage because the highest wattage that it'll need to deliver is towards the end of the charge cycle when the voltage is the highest. Now, if you were to pick 4.2 volts, if you look at what a charger does when it's charging, what you'll see is that it'll ramp up to whatever, 4 amps, whatever the charge rate is. And then as the voltage comes up to 4.2 volts, it'll slow down. So when I'm calculating a charger's capacity, I like to use 4.0 volts because my thinking is that around 4.0 volts, it'll probably still be cranking at the full charge rate. It won't have started ramping down yet, maybe even 4.1. That's the highest voltage at which it'll still be cranking at the full charge rate before it starts ramping down at the end. So 4.0, 4.1. Okay, so let's use 4.0 volts times 6S is 24 volts. Now, how many amps is it going to be charging at? Well, depends on how big your battery is. So let's say, oh, sorry, guys. The Discord pings are still getting through. I apologize. I'll mute that again. Sorry about that, guys. Let's say it's a 1250 milliamp hour pack. So we're going to multiply by 1.25 amps is the 1C charge rate, and that's going to give us 30 watts. We're pulling 30 watts. Is that right? That's right. 30 watts. Okay, so now we need a power supply that can deliver at least 30 watts, but you lose some efficiency to voltage conversions. So it would be safe to add about 10 or 15% to this to compensate for that. And frankly, you don't want to run your power supply at 100% anyway, so you might like a little more margin than that. But let's add in times 1.15. Let's add in 15% efficiency loss, and we got 34.5 watts. Now, your power supply is 12 volt, 3 amps. 12 volt times 3 amps is 36 watts. So you have a 36 watt power supply from which you will at most be pulling about 34, 35 watts. To me, I would not feel comfortable with this. I would say that's not enough. Technically you're right on the edge, but I wouldn't like to do this because that 35 watt power supply, that 12 volt 3 amp power supply, it could be a little inflated. I wouldn't like these numbers. But that's how you do those numbers in my opinion. How many watts are you going to pull? And to get that, I take 4.0 volts times the number of cells times the amps. That's how many watts you're going to pull. I add about 15% to that for efficiency losses in the power supply voltage conversion. And then I compare that to the watts of the power supply. Thank you, Dominicas Basis. Thank you for €5. I'm getting my first 5-inch quad next week. What do you think the most important difference in flying tiny whoops and 5-inch quads is? The most important difference is that when you crash a tiny whoop, it doesn't matter. When you crash a big quad, worse things happen, more expensive things happen. Obviously, a 5-inch is going to go faster and have more power. But flying a 5-inch is not a fundamentally different experience from flying a tiny whoop, assuming that you've flown in acro mode. It's actually really surprising how similar it is flying a tiny whoop, a 3-inch, a 5-inch, a 7-inch, all the way up to Beast Class, or even when I flew the Free Fly Alta, this gigantic octocopter. It's really funny how when you put the goggles on, you're kind of just flying it. Like, it's different, but it's the same in a really weird... It's not as different as you think it would be. It's really weird. So your consequences of crashing are going to be much higher, though. And so you're going to want to be a little more careful. You're going to want to fly in more open spaces, would be my recommendation. How fast is safe to charge a typical 6S flight pack? Asks Meat. The safest thing to do is to charge at 1C. 1C means you take the milliamp hours, you convert that to amps, and that's your charge rate. A 1250 milliamp hour pack, charge at 1.25 amps, or 1.2. You don't have to, like, the decimals aren't that important. 1000 milliamp hours, 1 amp. 3000 milliamp hours, 3 amps. That's 1C, and that is the safest thing to do. Most batteries will say that they are rated for as much as a 5C charge rate. What does that mean? No one knows. Let's reframe that question. What are the consequences of charging faster? The primary consequence of charging faster is that there is more heat buildup inside the battery, especially if the battery is damaged. So the battery has a characteristic called internal resistance, which is a resistance to current flow within the battery. And internal resistance comes into play when you are discharging the battery. Internal resistance is what causes the battery to heat up when you discharge it. You run current through a resistor and it gets hot, and that's essentially how internal resistance works. But internal resistance comes into play when you're charging as well, and the faster you charge, the more heat buildup there is inside the battery. But you can discharge at 100 amps, but you're only charging at, say, 1 to 5 amps. Yeah, well, it turns out that the chemical process that occurs when you discharge, the battery is designed to be discharged rapidly, but the charging, putting the electrons back in the box has to be done slower, and so you can't charge at 100 amps. It's not the same as discharging at 100 amps. But in terms of the battery's performance, I've seen tests. I saw one test that actually concluded that charging at 3C was healthier for the battery than charging at 1C. And to be fair, this is just one test, so don't read too much into it. But their argument was, they showed the data, and the batteries that were charged at 3C had better performance than batteries that were charged at 1C. Their argument was that the warming up the battery, that charging at 3C warmed up the battery, and when the battery was hotter, it was more able to easily charge, and those electrons could move through the substrate easier, and that charging at 3C was better for the battery. That was their hypothesis as to why. So I don't think it's a given that charging a battery faster actually is worse for it. And there's some argument could be made that charging a battery faster is better for it. Don't know. That's up in the air. The primary reason that I don't think you should charge batteries fast is that if a battery has any damage or is unhealthy in any way, charging it faster will make it go bad faster and worser. If you're charging at 1C, you may get a little heat buildup inside the battery, but nothing bad will happen. If you're charging at 5C, you may get a lot of heat buildup in the battery, which kicks it over into thermal runaway and causes it to light on fire. The exact same battery. If you're charging at 1C and the battery is going to light on fire, it may slowly begin to puff and crackle, and you hear a hissing noise, or you smell a little bit of a smell, and you're like, what is that? Oh shit, throw it out the window. And if you're charging at 5C, that process may happen faster and you have less time to respond. And that's the reason that you should charge at 1C. It's the safest. But I will say, I usually charge at 2 or 3C. I'm just going to say it. Now, I do it right here on my nice flammable wooden... Wait, never mind. I do it right here. I am here. I'm watching the batteries. I don't walk out of the room. I keep an eye on them. I'm listening and smelling for anything going wrong. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you understand that you're increasing the risk of a fire. I have, in the past, needed a battery. It's like it's 5:30 in the evening, the sun is going down, and I need to get one more flight for this video I'm trying to make that has to come out tomorrow. And so I put the battery on the charger, and I charge it at like 8C. Oh my God. What happened? Nothing happened. The battery charged. It took like 10 minutes to charge. It was done. And then I went and flew. Now, at some point, charging that fast is bad for the battery. And I feel like, according to most manufacturers, that line is somewhere around 5C. At 8C, again, if anything's wrong with the battery, the chances of it lighting on fire are much higher. The whole time that battery was charging, I was right there. Like, I had my hand on it. I might have even been hitting it with a thermal gun to just see if it was overheating. Right? That was a very risky thing to do. But the point is that there is no single line where this is safe and this is unsafe. You need to understand the risks. Charging at 1C is not perfectly safe. Many people who charge at 1C still have lipo fires and burn their house down. I don't know about many. Charging at 1C is not safe. Charging at 5C is less safe, but not inherently completely unsafe. It's all a spectrum. Ghost Branch FPV showing off his tattoo. It's a risky move, man. I would have gotten the bearded Bardwell. See if you could go back and get the beard added, because I feel like that's a better look for me. Good to see you getting your beard back, man. Ghost Branch had this beautiful fluffy beard, and then he had to shave it because he had to have a mask for his work. Or maybe they just didn't like looking at it. I don't know. He said it was for work. Good to see you getting your beard back, though, man. Family Guyver says, so 2C doesn't shorten battery life. My opinion is that it doesn't. Yeah, I assume that's fake. He's a Photoshop expert. I assume that's a Photoshop. Family Guyver, my opinion is that 2C does not shorten battery life. I'm not like a super expert on batteries. That's my opinion, though. Anyway. Thank you, G, for £1.79. Thank you, Coelho FPV, for $5. Any updates on when Betaflight 10.8 4.3 will release? Coelho, the stuff that I'm hearing is that RC4 is very close, and that when RC4 comes out, then it will be another couple weeks while they make sure that there are no more bugs, and then it could release. So I would say between 2 weeks and a month, assuming there are no bugs in RC4. That don't take that with a giant grain of salt, but yeah. Jimmy Nature says no more JB 4-in-1 ESCs. Jimmy, that's right. When we released the JB F4 flight controller, my very first flight controller, we released an ESC with it. It was just a rebranded. There was nothing special about the ESC. It was just a rebranded. The flight controller was manufactured by Airbot, and the ESC was just a rebranded Airbot ESC that we could sell in a package. There was nothing unique or special about it. I mean, it was a fine ESC, but I contributed nothing to it except for my name and the fact that they could sell it in a kit. So when we did the JB F7 flight controller, iFlight is the manufacturer of that. They're the OEM, and they said, do you want to do an ESC? And I was like, you know what? No, just sell it with an iFlight ESC. That's all it would be anyway. I'm not going to just slap my name on it. Sorry. I'm not going to just slap my name on an iFlight ESC and take $3 of royalty to have my name on it when I didn't contribute anything to it. Just sell it with an iFlight ESC. That's what I said. So there is no JB 4-in-1 ESC, but the good news is there never was a JB 4-in-1 ESC. It was just an Airbot ESC with my name on it that was convenient to sell in a kit. And I was like, yeah, okay, never mind. Don't do that. I don't want to take money for not doing anything. I don't want to put my name on a product and just take money for having my name on it. I would like to have ever contributed anything to the product. I mean, it's a very low threshold. For the record, like if you look at the JB GemFan 51477 prop, 2 years ago, when I had the JB 2407 motor, I thought that was a really good prop for that motor, and I asked GemFan to do a yellow and purple one. I did not contribute very much, but I did contribute something. But with the ESC, I just didn't feel like I was contributing anything. So, I mean, you could just get the... Will the new flight controller work with separate ESCs, asks Johnny D. Johnny, the JBF7, the current JBF7 is not an AIO. It does not work with individual ESCs. You would need a separate PDB. Nobody's making AIO flight controllers anymore. I know there are still a few. But most people have moved to 4-in-1 ESCs, and making an AIO flight controller, you have to make a lot of compromises to build the PDB into the flight controller. And I didn't want to make those compromises with the JBF7. Why don't you make an AIO flight controller? Because nobody's using individual ESCs anymore. Very few people. In case anybody's kept keeping up, here is Ghost Branch with his old glorious beard. Such a shame. So of all of the things we've lost to COVID, and there are many, this glorious beard is probably one of the most profound. I mean, let's face it. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Look at this beautiful man. Look deep into his eyes. Do you see the wisdom there? He wants to tell you something. He's seeing into your soul. Now look at this man. Not the same at all. Is it? Not the same at all. Thank you, Ghost Branch. Ciati FPV says, I think I just got pregnant. Asif Kashlon, thank you for 6 of a currency I don't recognize. Thank you for 6 of them, though. When will Edge TX support the TBS Mambo? That is 100% up to TBS. TBS has to make that happen. And TBS developers are overloaded right now. So TBS is working on bugs with Crossfire. Crossfire V3 has a bug with Betaflight 4.3. Their developers are just working on... and 2 of their developers, if I am understanding correctly, are based in Odessa, which is, in case you didn't know your geography, in Ukraine, which is, in case you've been living under a rock, currently being invaded by Russia. So... EdgeTX, TBS allowing EdgeTX to run on their radio, like, I mean, it's nice that they're doing it, but I can't imagine it's a very high priority compared to their actual bread and butter products like Crossfire. So it will happen eventually. It's up to TBS to make it happen, and there are many completely valid reasons why it is not happening faster. I should say also, according to Blunty, TBS had done all the work necessary to get EdgeTX running on the Mambo and the Tango. And then the EdgeTX devs did a complete rewrite of EdgeTX, changing a whole bunch of stuff for the better, but actually breaking, meaning that TBS had to go do another rewrite. So TBS actually did all the work that would have been necessary, and then the EdgeTX devs were like, you know what, we're going back to the drawing board. So TBS should get a lot of credit. I don't think there's a bad guy here, but there is no time frame for when that might or might not happen. All right. All righty. It is, oh my God, it's almost 3 p.m. It is almost 3 p.m. The show is almost over. Aaron Ciati is posting. He is going to be streaming at 3 p.m. He's posting links to his stream. More bad jokes, Q&A, and a wedding recap. Coelho FPV asks, where do I get the latest BL Heli 32, 32.8.3? You need the nightly downloads. You need the nightly downloads. Here. Coelho, here's where. Boom, there you go, sir. That video shows you how to do it. All right, folks, we're going to wrap up. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I'll see you tomorrow at 8. And have a great stream, Siati. Good night, everybody. Or good afternoon.